of the things I want to talk about today. So I'm under this tree, and there's a lake right over there, and my laptop, my phone is actually on my laptop. I have this little standing desk thing. My laptop's on there. I'm standing my phone on there. I'm under this tree because anywhere else it's too sunny and it's overexposed. I like to get some work done in nature. When I'm outdoors, I'm a little bit happier. But what I really want to talk about today is getting into industries that you don't really have that much domain expertise in, where you don't really know the industry, where you're really coming in as an outsider. And what kind of prompted me to think about this was, so I'm not a huge boxing fan, but there was a big fight with Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. Tyson Fury, comes from a family where he got into boxing when he was like 10 years old, and he's the number one heavyweight boxer. He started, since he was 10 years old, and he's like the best, right? So he's been doing it forever, and usually that's the case when people that are dominant in their industry, they or their field or discipline or whatever activities that they embark in, that experience gives them a huge advantage. Now, what I found interesting was, so Francis Ngannou, this is his first boxing match. Now, he was an MMA fighter before, and also he holds the strongest punch. But when it comes to the sport of boxing, what I think most people were expecting was it would be similar to the Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather fight, because it's the sport of boxing where you cannot use takedowns, you cannot use elbow strikes, you cannot use knees, you cannot use leg kicks, you cannot use ground fighting or clinch fighting. All of these things are off the table. So when it comes to just the discipline and the sport of boxing, the boxer should have the upper hand, like how we saw in the McGregor versus Mayweather fight. But with this fight, what was interesting was, from my perspective, I'm not an expert, or do I really watch that much boxing, but it really looked like Francis Ngannou beat up Tyson Fury. That's what it looked like to me. However, it came as a surprise to many people that Tyson Fury won the fight. But my point is that Francis Ngannou, that was his first boxing match, so his record is 0-1. And people are suggesting that he should be in the top 10, which I think it's hilarious. That kind of reminded me of the story of Elon Musk, where he didn't have a background in aerospace, nor did he have a background in building cars, but he became the dominant force in both space and also in electric cars. And he was an outsider. I think there was a book, I forgot the name of the book, but basically there's a certain power from being an outsider to an industry. And with my personal experience, I don't want to draw any analogs to Elon Musk or Francis Ngannou because they're here. Here. But as an entrepreneur, the most I've made in sales in 1 year was $770,000, and in the lifetime of the business, I sold over $3 million of press releases. So that's the level that I'm at, which to many more established entrepreneurs, that's really like not a whole lot. But if those are goals that you aspire to reach, then I'm going to share as much as I can about my journey and how I was able to achieve these goals. If you're making 50K, 70K, 100K, maybe my advice and me sharing my story with you can help you climb up to 200K, 300K, etc. in terms of sales. But the point of my story is, if there's a certain industry that you want to get into, don't let the haters and the naysayers get in the way. Oh, by the way, there's a lot of mosquitoes. That's one of the drawbacks. I mean, you need mosquito spray, and even then, they're like hovering all around me. If it's an industry or business that you really want to get into, you really don't need per se experience. Certain industries you do. I mean, if you're going to get into law or medical health, that kind of stuff, you definitely do. Otherwise, it's illegal. But there are many industries, especially if you're trying to start a SaaS, a software company, a service-based business where you're tailoring towards other businesses. I mean, you really don't need that much prior experience to get started. So before I got started with my press release business, I started under the name Press Release Jet. and I was selling press releases for $19 and $35, and I was actually like losing money for the first like very beginning of it because I had to like fund that through my day job. But towards the tail end of that, the plans were selling for, the lowest end was $99 and the highest tier was $2,000. But then they also could order in like higher quantities, so they could order tens of thousands of dollars worth of services. My point though is, before I started, I didn't know a whole lot about the press release industry. My experience was I was able to get news out to the world through SEO because that was something that I did when I was a kid. I ran a Dragon Ball Z fan site, and also I ran a Need for Speed fan site. The Dragon Ball Z fan site really took off and became, at that time, one of the top 10 most visited, high traffic Dragon Ball fan sites in the world. It became so popular, the company Funimation actually contacted me and started sending me their DVDs and games like a week or two before the release, which is really cool, and that helped it like massively blow up. At the time, everyone had these little like, rectangular like stat counters, so everyone knew everyone else's website traffic, which is hilarious because now people kind of keep that as like sensitive information, and people want to protect that kind of IP. So that's the experience that I have, is more so on building an audience through SEO and community building. I was able to take those skills and apply it to the world of press releases, which was an industry that I knew very little of. And I think of public relations, press releases, I think of these highly extroverted social people that can just go out there and talk to the world. I would never really think I would be getting into that industry because that's not really who I am. But I was able to make it happen and make a living for myself for almost a decade. So if there are any industries that you, or niches that you want to get into, don't let the fact that you're not experienced in something prevent you from doing that something. You take someone, let's say like Dana White. He's the man responsible for Z. He bought it when it was a failing organization, and he turned it into what it is now. And that guy did not have prior experience in the fight business. He wasn't working in boxing or anything like that for decades before he got started. He just did it. Look, when you start and it's a brand new thing that you have no experience in, you can have really low, set really low prices to start with. When I first started off, my prices were so low, $19 to start. Anyone can afford that. The stakes are so low where people, or at least from my perspective, it seems like people were like, well, there's nothing really to lose. It's so cheap. Let me give it a try. And then from those customers, you nurture those customers over a long period of time, and then you can increase your prices. For me, it went from, the highest plan went from $50 to $2,000. So that's a massive leap, right? And you'll lose some customers along the way, but those were kind of the or lack of better words, the lower quality customers where they had a lot of demands, unrealistic expectations. I think the reason is because they were people trying to start businesses. So they had a lot more time than money. And look, we all start off as entrepreneurs in that stage, so it's completely fine. But as you scale a business, you want less headache, not more. So then you want a higher caliber of clientele. And I think that's a natural thing as a business owner that you strive for over time. So just to recap, if there is an industry or vertical or niche that you want to get into, but you feel like, oh, well, I'm not experienced in this, you don't need to work, years at a job where you're in that industry. You can just start doing it. And maybe you have to offer your services for free for a period of time, or offer it for very cheap, so you can gain that experience and you gain that trust with people. But I definitely would not let that stop you from getting started and moving forward. What are some of the ideas or pursuits that you have? I would love to hear them in the comments below. Also, I have a Discord group called Codepreneurs, and it's completely free, and it's Codepreneurs. It's coders, freelancers, agency owners, SaaS founders, and entrepreneurs who want to use code and no-code tools for the entrepreneur pursuits. It's a free community, and the reason I started it was because I've been to a lot of coding meetups and I've been to business meetups, but the coding meetups, almost 89% of the people, their end goal was to get a full-time job coding. Don't get me wrong, the coding meetings, I would meet fantastic, really smart people. There's a lot of exchange of knowledge, but their goals didn't quite align with mine. So that's why I created Codepreneurs. So right now there's meetup groups in person if you're in the Los Angeles area. There's also virtual meetups where you can be anywhere around the world. And also we have a Discord group where we share and exchange information, all the tools that we're utilizing. Join us. I'll include the link below, but you can also find the link to that on my website. Go to ryanhuang.io. Also, all my social media accounts are there. If you like this video, make sure you like it, subscribe, follow me on across my different social platforms, because I really want to get the word out to build up this Codepreneurs community. I think a lot of us coders who are more entrepreneurial and vastly benefit from such a community that I haven't really been able to find on my own. So that's why I created it. And the goal of the community that I have is for us to get to 100,000 entrepreneurs and help 100,000 of us go from 0 to 100,000. It's a big goal, but I think it's a goal that we can achieve, because I think this community of people are truly special, because not only do we have the discipline to learn the technical trade, we also have the vision to start something entrepreneurial. Join this community, follow me on social media, subscribe, like this video, and also post some of the ideas or challenges on your entrepreneurial journey below in the comments, or share with us in the Discord group. I would love to hear them, and I will try to respond to each of them as well. And also, if you have marketing questions or web development questions, there's a channel for each of them on the Codepreneurs Discord server. So once you join, introduce yourself, and then you can feel free to post any questions, and I'll personally go in and answer any questions for you guys. Looking forward to seeing some of you on social media. Thank you for taking the time to watch.